Priscilla Sadien et Jagdish Joypal. On va poursuivre ensemble la PNQ. C'est à vous, bonjour.
Bonjour Yannick, bonjour à tous. Merci, vous pouvez rejoindre nous pour la séance de la PNQ. Jagdish Joypal, bonjour.
Bonjour Priscilla, Yanis, bonjour auditeurs et internautes, bonjour également.
La PNQ de ce matin, axée le Mauritius Africa Fund Limited, une PNQ qui Xavier Duval, peut adresser à ministre des Finances Renganaden Padeachi, mais paraît-il en raison de l'absence du pays, c'est le ministre suppléant Sunil Bola qui pour répondre à la question. Xavier Duval ou les connaît qui montant gouvernement fin payé à Mauritius Africa Fund sous forme de capital social, share capital, mais aussi subvention annuelle respectivement depuis la date de son enregistrement au 31 mai 2023. Il peut aussi demander détail le montant total que la compagnie fin payé comme en rémunération à administrateur et le personnel. Xavier Duval voulait aussi connaître le montant de frais de déplacement à l'étranger et montant versé initialement comme en franchise à la World Trade Center Association en 2021 et montant versé annuellement depuis. Alors, bien connaît Jagdish qui 500 millions de roupies a alloué au Mauritius Africa Fund en 2014 pour soutenir financièrement entreprise qui n'a projet l'au continent noir, mais la formule a abandonné, c'est création d'une plateforme financement privé qui finit privilégié.
Oui, comme on dit au début, donc Mauritius Africa Fund, c'est un fonds pour encourager surtout un entrepreneur mauricien investi en Afrique et un montant de 500 millions de roupies qui est déjà alloué. Et Xavier Duval, lui-même comme ministre des Finances, après les élections de 2014, qui lance la création dans le budget de 2015. Alors, depuis sa vocation de Mauritius Africa Fund, il changé et ce rôle principal, c'est la création de une zone économique en Afrique. Et déjà au Sénégal, nous finançons un projet, Maurice est partie prenante d'un projet de développement d'une zone industrielle au Sénégal. Donc, une zone économique exclusive en Afrique et c'est un pays ciblé, identifié. Il y a aussi Madagascar, il y a la Côte d'Ivoire, donc tout ça, le Sénégal, et un pays qui surtout concerné côté là, structure et infrastructure, possibilité de développement. Donc les 500 millions de roupies, nous pouvons connaître si c'est chose du passé, parce que là, à partir de la réponse qui le ministre Sunil Bola, ministre suppléant des Finances, pour donner à la question de Xavier Duval. L'alternative, c'est maintenant regrouper tout le financement pour des projets de développement et Mauritius Africa Fund peut tourner vers le secteur privé. Secteur privé comme partie est directement concerné dans un projet de développement. Donc d'ailleurs, il nous a mentionné qu'il a budget de 500 millions de roupies là, pas fin réussi mettre en place une facilité, une structure pour un entrepreneur mauricien. Et donc, c'est une compagnie d'État, nous rappelle un auditeur, donc une compagnie d'État, mais seulement avec un objectif, c'est recherche d'un entrepreneur, un investisseur qui a envie de développer en Afrique dans le cadre d'une coopération sud-sud. Alors si, par exemple, maintenant, il y a une certaine controverse concernant un grand bâtiment de 50 étages qui possiblement pour construire dans la région de Côte d'Or. Et le ministre des Finances, Renganaden Padeachi, il les a élaboré sur un tel projet. Maintenant, Xavier Duval, il fait déjà et où les autres dans l'opposition, ils déjà expriment une réserve sur un tel projet. Est-ce que c'est ça l'objectif de Mauritius Africa Fund, tourner vers l'Afrique ou bien investir dans Maurice lui-même? Et le ministre des Finances, il déjà dit que Maurice Bizin réalise un grand projet, un gros projet. Alors, ensuite, d'emplacement pour le commerce, nous pouvons guetter qu'il y a un espace bureau qui peut prévoir dans le bâtiment concerné, donc qui est un projet qui est lancé avec le concours de Mauritius Africa Fund.
Et si le projet il y aboutit, donc ce sera le bâtiment qui est le plus haut oui, du pays, n'est-ce pas?
Un bâtiment de prestige, un bâtiment qui est montré et d'après certains dans le gouvernement, qui pour montrer l'image de Maurice comme un pays de développement, un pays développé également, et qui va offrir à un pays africain viennent prendre, occupe un bureau pour y a également projet d'un hôtel 5 étoiles à Côte d'Or. Maintenant, nous pouvons guetter dans ma réponse qui peut gagner exactement si ce projet-là peut aboutir. Qui stage arrivé. Et là, déjà fini là, une expression of interest. Le Mauritius Africa Fund, il lance une expression, c'est-à-dire qui est intéressé dans le projet, exprime zut. Et mon pensée vers le 20 avril, c'était la date limite pour répondre à l'appel de Mauritius Africa Fund dans le cadre de sa projet de Côte d'Or.
Un projet a une superficie d'environ 4 hectares.
4 hectares
Oui.
et donc 50 étages. Les investissements pas tout à fait chiffrés. Alors, nous pouvons connaître combien il peut prévoir. Si Xavier peut poser une question supplémentaire. Également, question qui peut intéresser peut-être le grand public, combien de dépenses une faire escalaires sur le fond au niveau du personnel, au niveau du directeur.
De bonnes missions à l'étranger.
Mission à l'étranger. Et Xavier Duval peut poser certaines questions qui assez sensibles et qui concernent l'intérêt public, qui concernent les finances, c'est-à-dire la monnaie publique.
Et au cours de la PMQT tout à l'heure, c'est la Special Striking Team qui pour retenir l'attention. Nous pourrons venir là dans un petit moment. Nous vous prenons tout de suite la direction de l'Assemblée nationale.
Announcements? None. None. Papers have been laid. Question?
Questions addressed to the Honourable Minister of Finance, Economic Planning and Development, whether in regard to the Mauritius Africa Fund Limited, he will, for the benefit of the House, obtain information, A, since the incorporation of the company to 31st May 2023, as to the amount paid to the company by government by way of share capital and annual grants, respectively, total amount paid by the company as remuneration to its board of directors and staff, and 3, total amount incurred as mission expenses. And B, as to the amount paid initially as franchise to the World Trade Center Association in 2021, and amounts paid thereto annually since 2021 to date.
Mr. Speaker, sir, in 2013, when the Honourable Member of Opposition was Minister of Finance, the Ministry of Finance and Economic Development created the Mauritius Africa Fund Limited. Initially, the aim was for the Mauritius Africa Fund, MAF, to help finance Mauritian companies wishing to invest in Africa by participating in the share capital of Mauritian companies up to a maximum of 10% of their equity. This model turned out to be ineffective since no company applied for financing from MAF. In 2015, and in view of the new Africa strategy developed by the government, the Mauritius Africa Fund's mandate was reviewed as follows. First, entering into G2G cooperation framework through agreements signed with African governments to promote projects for our mutual benefits. Second, developing business infrastructure such as specific economic zones, business and technology parks in selected countries to facilitate investments in Africa. Third, adopting innovative approaches to mobilize funds from institutional and private sources for investments into Africa. And fourth, positioning Mauritius as a safe platform with a strong value proposition to channel investments into Africa, especially through the Mauritian International Financial Center, IFC, and our global business sector. Through this redesigned mandate, Mauritius Africa Fund now offers businesses the opportunity to access the special economic zones, SEZs, created and managed by the Mauritius Africa Fund. These SEZs provide state-of-the-art infrastructure and investment centers in Ghana and Ashanti Kingdom, Côte d'Ivoire, Senegal, Madagascar, and Kenya. Currently, the area of land available in these countries for Mauritian projects amounts to about 348 hectares. Furthermore, the Mauritius Africa Fund is also in discussions with the République Centrafricaine for a potential of 27,000 hectares for 2 business parks, one for agro-industry and the other one for industrial park. The fund also provides businesses with strategic advice on investment into Africa and oversees the process of applying for financial assistance at development banks in Africa. Mr. Speaker, sir, I would like to recall that the figures published by the Bank of Mauritius on the pre-pandemic gross direct investment flows indicate that 43% of the total Mauritian investments abroad, that is 3.9 billion rupees, have been directed to African countries, including neighboring islands such as Madagascar and the Seychelles. As at end of 2022, several companies from Mauritius have invested in other African countries under the Mauritius Africa Fund umbrella for projects worth some 250 million USD. Mr. Speaker, sir, as I have just mentioned, 5 SEZ projects are under development within a G2G framework by the Mauritius Africa Fund in joint venture with institutions of the host countries. I have been informed by the Mauritius Africa Fund that technical projects development missions to African countries where SEZs are being established were put on hold since March 2020 due to strict international travel bans, restrictions, and serious health risks arising from the prolonged COVID-19 pandemic. Mr. Speaker, sir, in Senegal, the Mauritius Africa Fund holds 51% of the shares of Société des Infrastructures d'Affaires Atlantiques, SA, incorporated in Senegal as a joint venture with a sovereign fund for strategic investments, FONSIS. The Sovereign Wealth Fund of Senegal, SIAA, will develop 40 hectares of land through public-private partnerships, PPP, and will eventually manage the 53 hectares of the Diamniadio Industrial Park near Dakar. In Côte d'Ivoire, the Mauritius Africa Fund successfully negotiated preferential treatment for Mauritian companies to invest in the construction of a cyber tower, 2 administrative towers, a business hotel, and a water park within the technology park of Grand Bassam. In Ghana, the Mauritius Africa Fund will hold 60% of the share capital of Ghana Smart City Limited, a joint venture with the Ghanaian government. The project will consist of the construction of a technology and research hub within the University of Ghana in central Accra during a first phase, followed by the development of a technology and business park in Dawa during a second phase. In Madagascar, the Malagasy government has identified 80 hectares of land for the Mauritius Africa Fund to jointly develop a textile city in Muramanga, located along the main economic corridor linking the capital and Tanana River. to the port of Tuamasina. In addition, negotiations are underway between the government of Mauritius and that of Kenya for the development of an industrial center in Navaisha. Mr. Speaker, sir, in August 2022, the two project partners, namely Mauritius Africa Fund and Sonapar, were informed that the land would be leased by the Malagasy government through the Ministry of Territorial Development and Land Services to the SPV of the joint project, and a preliminary business plan would be submitted as part of the application to local authorities to complete the lease contract process. Mr. Speaker, sir, with regard to Part A1 of the question, I am informed that government contributed 184 million rupees as share capital. The total of the annual grants provided to Mauritius Africa Fund up to 31st May 2023 amounted to 88.6 million rupees. 88.6. Mr. Speaker, sir, with regard to Part A2 of the question, I am informed that 43 million rupees was paid as remuneration to its directors and staff. Regarding Part A3 of the question, 3.5 million rupees have been spent as mission expenses. Mr. Speaker, sir, with regard to Part B of the question, I am informed that as part of the Mauritius Africa strategy, Mauritius needs to offer modern and adequate infrastructures to host local and international companies wishing to expand into Africa. To this end, the ambition to attract the World Trade Center brand to Mauritius and the iconic tower project in Côte d'Or are steps in the right direction. Mr. Speaker, sir, the World Trade Center complex in Côte d'Ivoire will aim at projecting Mauritius' dynamism as a trade and financial hub for Africa, supported by efficient connectivity, a strong IFC, a dynamic free port and harbor, providing a prestigious address and integrated services to attract and retain international companies having a common objective to trade and invest in Africa, and contributing to the promotion of business at both regional and international levels. Mr. Speaker, sir, in 2021, the Ministry of Finance was informed by the Mauritius Africa Fund of the intention to adopt a design, build, finance, operate, maintain model to execute this project. It was shared that the estimated cost of the project will depend on the architectural plan presented by the potential investor developer. It was also envisaged that full ownership of the building will revert to the Mauritius Africa Fund within a maximum of 30 years, in line with standard practice for this type of financing. I have been informed that this model enables a private sector operator to design, build, and finance the project, and then ultimately delegate the operation and maintenance of the facilities to the public structure under a long-term agreement. This execution project model type will enable the Mauritius Africa Fund to enter into a joint venture with a partner possessing the required expertise and the necessary financing for the successful completion of same. The MAF's contribution to the joint venture will comprise the land on which the building will be erected, which has been obtained from Landscope Mauritius Limited for a renewable 30-year lease period, and the World Trade Center license. Mr. Speaker, sir, following approval by the Mauritius Africa Fund Board of Directors on 10th March 2023, I have been informed of the following. The tender, open exercise, for the selection of an investor developer for the development of the World Trade Center complex was launched on March 20th, 2023, with a closing date of 24th July 2023. To date, 35 local and international companies have contacted the Mauritius Africa Fund to obtain the relevant tender documents. the restricted bidding exercise for the appointment of a qualified project management consultant to assist the Mauritius Africa Fund in managing the project was launched on 10th March 2023 with a closing date of 14th April 2023. Bids have already been evaluated by the Tender Evaluation Committee. The highest scoring bidder has offered a fee of 14.9 million rupees for its services. The bidding exercise for the appointment of a consultant to carry out geological studies to ensure the constructability of the plot was launched on 22nd March 2023 with a closing date of 28th April 2023. In fact, the Mauritius Africa Fund paid $250,000 as a one-off fee upon application for the World Trade Center franchise, and thereafter an annual membership fee of $12,500 since 2021.
Mr. Speaker, I had not known that the substantive minister was not there, but I'm sure that as a qualified accountant, our friend here will be more than able to reply to the questions that I'm going to ask. The first question, the first thing to note, Mr. Speaker, is that the Mauritius Africa Fund was in fact incorporated in 2014, and I left the government a few months later. It's good to be precise on that. I'd like to ask the Honourable Minister whether, with regard to this famous World Trade Center of 50 stories, whether he's aware that the government, Ministry of Finance, has not even commissioned a feasibility study to see whether this huge building was feasible in Mauritius, and not even a geotechnical survey on the site or the sites that had been identified. Are you aware of that? That it was announced in such a frivolous way?
Mr. Speaker, I just mentioned that the bidding exercise for the appointment of a consultant to carry out geological studies to ensure the constructability of the plot was launched on 27th March 2023. I just mentioned about that. With regarding to the feasibility study, the Honourable Leader of Opposition will appreciate that it is a very long-term project, given that we have paid a one-off fee with regard to World Trade Center franchise.
I think you're a bit l'avocat du diable. Anyway, let me tell you that, as you know, you told us yourself that 270 million rupees ont été engloutis dans the Mauritius Africa Fund. 270 million rupees. 43 million rupees have been paid to its board of directors and to staff. And, Mr. Speaker, therefore I'm going to ask you whether it is normal for such a prestigious project to be launched without a feasibility study and without a geotechnical study. And this is the question: are you aware? Is the minister aware that since the launch of the request for proposal in March, the site that was allocated to the Mauritius Africa Fund, the site has been changed, and there's a new site, and there's no official letter yet from Landscope as to where the new site is?
What is your question?
Are you aware that since the launch of the RFP, and you say 35 people have taken it, isn't it a shame for Mauritius that such a project is handled in such a frivolous way that even the site now has been changed, and it is a fourth change?
You already put your question.
Yes, I did.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I don't think that it's a shame for Mauritius. In fact, Mauritius is investing into infrastructure, as I said, of the caliber of World Trade Center. And also regarding the amount that we have paid as franchise, it speaks for itself. With regard to the feasibility studies, I'm being informed that it is a responsibility of the investor developer.
But you spend the money, it is their responsibility. You're spending our money. Tell us, please, about the site. What is now the new site? I'm sure these 35 people would love to know from you, what is the new site that has been allocated? I understand it is in the so-called admin city. Nobody knows about the admin city, but it is a so-called admin city now in Eben, in Côte d'Or. Where is the new site? Do you know where it is?
It is near the administrative city.
Where? Tell us, can you table,
In Côte d'Or.
can you table a site plan where the new site for the World Trade Center, 50 story high. Can you table that for us, please?
I can't table. I don't have it at hand.
No, but you can table it in a minute, not right now.
Move on. Your
Can I ask the Honourable Minister whether this famous statement that it was going to be 50 stories high, that has now been abandoned in the new request for proposal? There is not even a request for 1 story. There's no size, only the size, 50,000 square meters, but the 50, which was pie in the sky, the 50-story building has now been abandoned. You're not aware of that?
Not aware of that.
Okay, it has been abandoned. And I come now, Mr. Speaker, to this idea that it will be a public-private partnership. You said yourself, under the BOT. Are you aware that the new company, the Mauritius Africa Fund, is completely outside the Public Partnership Act, therefore doesn't come under the Public Partnership Act for BOT projects, although it is a company totally funded by government and on government-owned land via land scope? Why has the Mauritius Africa Fund completely been kept outside of the Public Partnership Act? You won't know. No. Okay, let's move on. Okay. I'd like to ask the Honourable Minister about the special economic zones. Beautiful announcements, huh? Zero, less than zero realization. Not one single special economic zone has been activated with Mauritian help. The Senegal one was meant to be managed.
Put your question.
I have to. He is new. How can he understand my question if I don't explain it? How can he understand it? He is new. So I'm trying to put the question so he understands it. Now, the special economic zone in Senegal was meant to be managed by Mauritius. Zero. Nothing happened in Ghana. Zero. Nothing happened in Cote d'Ivoire. Zero. Therefore, I'd like to ask the Minister how it can be that 270 million rupees are spent over 9 years with zero result.
Mr. Speaker, sir, with the passage of time, we should not forget that we have had 2 or 3 years of hard times. And I said in my main answer, many projects were put on hold, especially when we are talking about Africa, where the risk of the pandemic was more severe than anywhere. This the Honourable Leader of Opposition must understand.
Also, Honourable Minister, I'll give you 7 projects which were announced here in this House. The Senegal, Diaminiadio, SEZ, nothing happened. Côte d'Ivoire, Cyber Tower, Twin Towers, nothing happened. Ghana, Smart City, nothing happened. Madagascar, Textile City, nothing happened. We now know that something may happen. Kenya, Naivasha, Industrial Park, nothing happened. Africa, Infrastructure Investment Holding, nothing happened. Strategic partnership with Africa Finance Corporation, nothing happened. I'm going to ask the Minister now whether it isn't time to stop spending taxpayers' money in such a frivolous way that you're clearly wasting our money and throwing hundreds of millions of rupees out into the river, as it were.
Mr. Speaker, sir, all these projects, again, have been put on hold because of COVID-19. And I'm given to understand, I have been informed that this project will kickstart very soon.
So it is COVID?
Of course.
Is that COVID?
Of course.
Okay, well, the Honourable Minister may know that, in fact, after COVID, in October 2021, that was when the first expression of interest was launched for the World Trade Center. Can you tell us what happened to that expression, the first expression of interest? Nothing happened. I will tell you, nothing happened. There was another RFP issued in March 2022. Are you aware that it was aborted because on the eve, the site for the WTC was changed a second time?
In fact, what happened is that it's true. that the first site has been moved to a more appropriate site in Côte d'Or, near the administrative city, because the initial one was near the Côte d'Or Data Technology Park. And because of restrictions, we have had to move elsewhere.
Are you aware that this project, about 8 billion rupees, and all these are being handled by management, and the CEO of the Mauritius Africa Fund, his contract was not renewed, and he's on a day-to-day contract. Do you think a project of this size, of this importance, do you think that that is possible with a CEO who is on a day-to-day contract?
I'm not aware of the CEO
Not
on a
aware,
day-to-day
okay.
contract.
I'm going to ask you something else. You will not be aware either, but what can I do? Now, can you imagine this project, which according to the website of the Mauritius Africa Fund, is going to generate, would you believe, 13% of GDP, 94 billion rupees, was never included in any budget speech, never. And it was supposed to employ 8,500 people. Can you give us why, you are a senior minister, why was it never included in any budget speech or in your speech, ever?
I don't know, I'm a senior minister, Mr. Speaker, sir, but anyway, the leader of opposition will appreciate that I'm not the substantive minister. I don't know the ins and outs of the running and the terms and conditions of the staff, even of the CEO.
Okay. I'll tell you this one. You're an accountant. This you will know. You know that, this you know 100%. You know that companies, especially government-owned companies, should file their accounts regularly. You are aware of that. Now, is it a surprise to you that the Mauritius Africa Fund has never filed accounts for 2018-19, never filed accounts for 2021, and never filed accounts for 21-22? How do we know what is happening at the Mauritius Africa Fund, which is using 270 million rupees of taxpayers' money when they are not even bothered to file accounts at the registrar of companies? This you can answer as an accountant.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I'm not aware if they have filed or not.
He's not the substantive minister, so you should be.
Well, the substantive minister should tell us when he goes. I can't follow him to the airport. He was un peu, enfin, anyway. Now, let me come to what more can I ask you? Now, why, instead of going for a lease, why was a complicated design, build, finance, operate, maintain system used? Why was that? You won't know.
I don't know why it was.
Well, Mr. Speaker, I think in face of so much don't know, I don't know if my colleagues have other questions, but I will have to save my questions for the substantive minister.
Of course.
I don't know if anybody has any questions.
Mr. Speaker, sir, the leader of opposition or any opposition member they can come with PQs addressed to the substantive minister when he's back from mission.
I will ask you this. Coming back to the site, for the new site, which you are going to table, I think you told us you're going to table the new site. Now, the pre-bid meeting, which was meant to be held on the 26th of May, already 1 month ago, has been cancelled. When is the pre-bid meeting going to be held now? If you don't know, I'm sure you will get some help. When will the pre-bid meeting be held with the 35 people who have taken the trouble to get the papers for the request for...
We look for the information?
Yeah. When will the pre-bid meeting be held?
It is about the future meeting. I don't
Yes,
know.
future meeting.
Yeah, I don't.
But
Meanwhile, I'll allow a question. Honorable Tim.
Thank you. May I know from the Honourable Minister, who is not a substantive minister, has talked about this landmark project, the World Trade Center building. So before we inject money into that building, may I know from the Honourable Minister if Mauritius Africa Fund has done a survey and has received interest from potential tenants who would be interested to lease out this premises before embarking into such a huge project?
No, I don't have information regarding tenants of this prospective building. At this moment, we don't have.
The pre-bid meeting. It's been 5 minutes.
Pre-bid meeting?
Yes.
Il n'y a pas de réponse.
We can wait a bit for the pre-bid. We have time.
I wonder if
Yes,
it has
pre-bid
been
meeting.
fixed. I
When will
wonder
it be
if-
held? It was meant to be held on 26 May. This is a prestigious project, 13% of GDP, 8,500 jobs. No idea when the pre-bid meeting will be done. This is a very frivolous government. Very, very frivolous.
So meanwhile, let me...
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Can I ask the Honourable Minister as to the number of meetings which have taken place in relation to public-private partnership in regards to specific projects?
Can you repeat the question? Can you repeat the question, please?
Will the Minister be kind enough to inform the House the number of times there have been private-public partnership meetings in respect of projects identified and which are ongoing?
Well, regarding the pre-bid meeting, I'm just been informed that it will be held in July 2023, that is next month. No specific date, but in July.
That's in July. Yes. This year. One last question, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to ask the Minister, he talked about 250 million rupees of investment, I think, into Africa, which supposedly facilitated by MAF. Can you circulate in his reply? You did say that, 250 million rupees.
$250,000 I mentioned.
No, that is for the
Center.
license.
Yes,
No,
for the license.
you're talking about the investment to Africa facilitated supposedly by MAF. 250 million you used. Anyway, can we have the list of that? Can you table that list?
Yeah, we'll look for that.
Thank you
We'll
very
table
much.
it later.
Time over. Prime Minister's question time. Honourable members, the table had been advised that PQB 745.
Et voilà donc pour cette PNQ, le Mauritius Africa Fund Limited, donc une PNQ de Xavier Duval qui était initialement adressée au ministre des Finances Renganaden Padehachi, mais en raison de son absence au pays, c'est donc le ministre suppléant Sunil Bola qui finit répondre à la question. Sunil Bola qui finit dire que le Mauritius Africa Fund Limited s'est créé en 2015 avec comme objectif pour soutenir financièrement une compagnie qui pour investir en Afrique. Alors, à l'époque, donc, pas aucune compagnie qui fin apply pour gagner financement. Ensuite, fin revoir le rôle de la compagnie avec ban G2G partnership et création zone économique exclusive dans ban pays choisis, dont Ghana, Côte d'Ivoire, Madagascar, Kenya. Fin identifier ban zone dans le secteur agro-industrie et les affaires, entre autres. Alors, tiens, ban projet, selon le ministre Bola, qui fin bloqué en raison de la situation sanitaire. Les fin citent différents projets qui en cours dans un pays africain, dans plusieurs secteurs, dont le textile à Madagascar. Et le ministre Bola fin aussi dire qu'il y a annual grant qui fin alloué par Mauritius Africa Fund au 31 mai 2023, les chiffré à 86,6 millions de roupies. 43 millions de roupies fin payés au staff. Et il dit aussi que le projet à Côte d'Or, le World Trade Center, donc qui est en bonne voie. Et il dit que le coût du projet pour des pannes de bonne infrastructure. Alors, l'appel d'offres pour ce projet fin lancé le 20 mars 2023 jusqu'au 24 juillet 2023 et finina ban compagnie, une trentaine, donc 35 compagnies qui fin montrer l'intérêt ou qui, du moins fin demande ban précision, ban détail le projet. Xavier Duval fin il peut dire que ce projet-là fin faire sans une étude de faisabilité, sans une étude géotechnique. Xavier Duval fin demander exactement quoi ça le projet peut faire. Il peut demander une copie du site plan au ministre Bola. Et il dit qu'il fin dépense 270 millions de roupies dans un projet qui pas fin abouti jusqu'à l'air. et les gens pas capables de dépenser leurs hommes de man taxes payeuses dans une manière aussi frivole. Et les fin aussi, Xavier Duval fin aussi vient le contrat du CEO de la Mauritius Africa Fund Limited, qui selon lui c'est un contrat donc qui peut renouveler au jour le jour. Et Finena aussi donc ce autre point, le point de Xavier Duval, quand il peut dire que le Mauritius Africa Fund Limited n'a pas déposé bilan financier au Registrar of Companies, et le ministre indien entre autres donc Jagdish Jaipal qui n'est pas au courant. Alors, qui peut-être les autres points saillants qui nous a retenir de cette PNQ?
Oui, d'abord, c'est la situation très difficile pour le ministre suppléant des Finances, M. Sunil Bola, parce que il réussit au moins faire une présentation, répondre à certaines questions et déjà soumettre par le leader de l'opposition, et donc donne un aperçu du projet. Maintenant, concernant une question supplémentaire, technique, c'est pas son ministère, c'est pas son portefeuille, donc il trouve en difficulté, et il finit très franc pour dire il n'est pas au courant, donc il préfère gagner une question et peut-être additionnelle ou bien soumettre une question quand le ministre des Finances lui-même pour là présent pour lui capable de répondre à sa bonne question là. Donc c'est un projet, c'est-à-dire le Mauritius Africa Fund, et un projet de grande ambition, surtout investi en Afrique. Et là, le ministre Bola donne la liste de certains pays que Maurice vient intéresser, et le Sénégal déjà nous lance un premier projet. Et là aussi, il identifié un site au Kenya, Côte d'Ivoire, Madagascar. Il y a un projet de textile, comment on dit, déjà possible là, donc le développement dans la région de Thomasine. Alors ça, c'est... Et aussi les Seychelles concernées, parce que là, il paraît que Mauritius Africa Fund, il déjà tourné vers les Seychelles, ça c'est au niveau régional. Maintenant, concernant sa projet de Business Tower, et qui à Côte d'Or, c'est là qu'on a beaucoup de controverses, et Xavier Duval finit surtout ciblé le ministre suppléant des Finances pour montrer que c'est un projet qui d'ailleurs est qualifié comme étant frivole dans le sens qui peine suffisamment de planning, de planification. Alors, finalement, un appel de show of interest, une compagnie qui est intéressée pour investir dans un tel projet d'envergure, de prestige. Il y a 35 compagnies donc qui finissent montrer l'intérêt. C'est-à-dire, je n'ai pas fait apply à aucun tender à ce stade. C'est un document, je tous les connais vraiment les détails, la profondeur et aussi l'importance d'un tel projet. Et ça, c'est un document qui est en préparation. Mais Xavier Duval, il mentionnait que déjà, ça, une compagnie-là, il prend un document sur le projet spécifique, alors qu'il le cite insensé en 2 fois. C'est pas le même site et confirmé par le ministre Bola, c'est-à-dire maintenant une bouge d'une autre région parce que c'est-à-dire dans le côté administratif de la région de Côte d'Or. Alors Xavier Duval peut demander est-ce qu'il finit une étude topographique, géographique et également et surtout
faisabilité
de sustainability et pour connaître si pas un projet viable ou non concernant la construction. Et là, il paraît que le ministre des Finances suppléant pas connaît si finina une telle étude, mais Xavier Duval il mentionne cette affaire de que l'Enscope et le ministre vient confirmer que le terrain peut donc change de site. Finalement, aussi question supplémentaire de Reza Outim, parce que Reza Outim, il déjà pose une question sur le projet dans le passé. Également, finalement, la question de Arvin Boulel concernant le nombre de réunions qui le board et le Public-Private Partnership in Fair concernant ce projet. Et là, ce qui nous retenir également, c'est qu'au niveau, vous mentionnez Priscilla, au niveau de ma dépense qu'il fait concernant paiement des salaires, c'est 43 millions de roupies pour le directeur and staff et finalement une subvention de 88,6 millions de roupies au 31 mai qui finit donc offert et aux fonds concernés. Voilà le projet, donc World Trade Center, c'est-à-dire un projet Iconic Project, qualifié de Iconic Project, mais qui reste toujours sous réserve de beaucoup de questions de l'opposition au Parlement ce matin.
Et là, lors de la PMQT, le Premier ministre peut déjà répondre à quelques questions en fait sur la Special Striking Team.
Oui, la Special Striking Team, donc, qui fait l'objet de 4 questions. Alors, et surtout, qui fait une telle unité créée, nombre policiers concernés dans le Striking Team qui peut travailler. Est-ce qu'ils ont bénéficié d'une allocation spéciale? Également, il y a une question concernant un fourgon de l'unité du département concerné, de la police, un accident le 3 juin à la rue Pasteur à Port-Louis. Alors, est-ce qu'il, dans cet accident-là, finalement, implication, c'est un policier, et écoute, l'enquête était. Maintenant, une autre question, c'est le nombre de plaintes qui finissent déposées contre Special Striking Team, et aussi une question concernant l'affaire Kisnen, donc l'affaire de l'emploi fictif. Aussi, il y a une question de l'opposition concernant AML, Airports of Mauritius Limited, le nouveau chief exécutif qui fut nommé. Et une autre question d'importance concernant l'argent public, c'est Alpha Mix, après le jugement du conseil privé de l'Angleterre, côté d'une somme de 437 millions de roupies pour besoin payer à Alpha Mix, après qui fut ce contrat résilié parce qu'il finit un désaccord sur le projet de construction d'un marché, c'est-à-dire un bazar dans le village de Rivière-du-Rempart.
Merci pour ce détail-là et parmi les autres questions aussi qui pourraient retenir l'attention au cours de cette séance parlementaire, donc l'importation de bétail pour la fête Eid al-Adha ou encore le recrutement dans le secteur touristique. Voilà, en tout cas, merci beaucoup pour participation donc à cette séance de PNQ Jagdish Joypal pour ce compte rendu.
Merci beaucoup, compte rendu plus détaillé, vous pensez, nous ne pas résumer pour les auditeurs et les internautes l'essentiel d'une question très technique, alors surtout, mais Xavier Duval fait nous montrer qu'il a un grand projet bien ficelé, bien présenté, mais qui n'a pas abouti. Donc, c'est ça, c'est l'objectif, c'était montrer que le ministre des Finances n'a pas connaît exactement dans quelle direction et comment ça projet là pour réaliser, qui fait autant de dépenses de l'argent public quand pas trop connaît si un tel projet. Maintenant, c'est au ministre des Finances de venir répondre à toutes les questions plus tard.
En tout cas, merci. Voilà, chers auditeurs et internautes, merci vous suivre nous pour capable suivre un large extrait de cette séance de la PNQ tout à l'heure dans le journal de 13h. À très bientôt.